Meet the Young family. American Family Insurance put together a special policy for them. It's called the I'll get married when I'm 40. The game's on at my place. Who needs more than 2 seats in a car? And life may be about to change. Policy. American Family works with you to choose from over 375 products and features to create your custom family protection. Is your coverage as unique as your family?
Welcome back to the Derrick Ashong Experience, streaming live online at oprahradio.com. Here's Derrick Ashong.
Hey, this is DNA. We are listening to the Derrick Ashong Experience. We are having a great time here talking about some important issues. Actually, before we go further, I want to give a little shout out to the American Family Insurance for sponsoring our little show. Thank you very much for being a part of this. You know, if you've got a family, I'm telling you, you need insurance. You need insurance, especially in America. Anyway, so I've got some more folks joining in on Ustream, and we've got an interesting comment from Sojourner for Truth. How do we use Chris Matthews' comment to have an authentic dialogue about race and racism? Sojourner for Truth, that is a very interesting question that you bring up. And I will tell you the honest, heartfelt truth. It is hard to have an authentic dialogue about race and racism. And it's hard for very simple reasons, actually. See, people typically talk about race and racism amongst themselves. Talk amongst yourselves. They talk amongst themselves, and by that I mean they talk to other people who are like them. It's hard to talk to somebody who is different from you about such sensitive issues, right? I mean, and it's not just across lines of race. It's across all kinds of lines. But in this particular instance, because, let's say, people of color in this country, some of them feel that things are not yet equitable in the way that they should be, in the way that was promised according to the founding of this nation. People who are not necessarily of color. And I've always found these terms interesting to me because the whole concept of race changes radically wherever you come from, right? Where I come from, the word for white person is basically means that everybody in America is white because we don't have a word according to color. We have it according to culture. Either you're African, or which is Ebibini, or you're what we call Obruni, which means outsider, which translates to white person because it was the only word for them. There's no way that a word for a color can be applied to a person because I'm not black and you're not whites. We're kind of shades of cream and pink and brown and, okay, golden a little bit. So that's one thing that always strikes me as a little bit funny when we get into these dialogues. In my country and in my culture, either you're an African or you're a white person. I mean, Tyrone from Detroit is white as far as we're concerned. My man Jorge, who is Mexican from California, went down to me in Ghana, and he's, Mexican pride in the U.S. And everyone's like, "Oh, how do you feel as a white person in Africa?" And he's like, "I'm not white." And they're like, "Oh, yes, you are." So, but this is the thing. In order to have an authentic dialogue about these issues, you've got to find a way to talk to somebody who's coming from a different perspective. It's the only way to see and imagine a different world, right? So, for example, if you talk to someone who grew up where I did, they could tell you that, yeah, the whole race thing in America is hella confusing. I don't understand why all you American white people can't just get along. The brown ones, the cream ones, the yellow ones, why can't all these American white people love each other? That's what people in Ghana would say, because you're all white to them. Ask somebody in Brazil, and they go according to the gradation of your skin, right? So-and-so is not black. They're not white. They're café con leche. They're coffee with cream. That sounds good to me. But the fact of the matter is, getting or taking the opportunity to speak across lines of difference gives you the chance to actually have a real dialogue and learn something. So back to your point, Sojourner for Truth, I don't think it's so much about Chris Matthews' comments sparking a dialogue on race. There will always be comments. Every once in a while, someone will say something The question is, do we really want to have a conversation on race? Because if we really do, we don't have to wait for Harry Reid to say something stupid, right? We could talk to Joey down the street about how does he or she see the world. And by having an authentic dialogue with each other, we've got a much, much better chance at coming to understanding than waiting for someone upon high in the media to tell us how things are or should be. Now, that brings me to what I think is a really interesting and cool topic that I'm so happy to get a chance to touch on, right? Because I think that race is not even the most preeminent dividing line in our society today. I would say that class is. But the one that's been getting the most media attention lately is actually the divide of religion. And people are talking about what does it mean to be a Christian nation? What does it mean maybe to not be? What does it mean to be a nation that embraces people of all faiths? And one of the things that has really been eating away at the national dialogue is this perceived divide between the West and the Islamic world. And a lot of people are afraid, wondering, well, whoa, my God, these Muslims are out to kill us. Now, I, as you know, some of you, grew up in the Islamic world. I grew up as the child of an Episcopalian and a Presbyterian in Saudi Arabia, the cultural and religious seat of Islam. I grew up hearing the prayer call 5 times a day, and then I became an altar boy. So I feel like I definitely have a couple of horses in this race because somehow I hear dialogue from different people that indicates to me there's a lot of confusion, a lot of misunderstanding. A lot of people are wondering, why have these folks declared a jihad on America? What even is a jihad? What does it mean to be a jihadi? And well, I wanted to dive into some of these issues so that you and I can understand it a little bit better. And in order to do that, I'm very pleased to have a very, very special guest with me today. His name is Salman Ahmad. He is an incredible musician. He is one of the biggest artists ever out of South Asia. Literally a Pakistani rock star, multi-platinum. I had the great pleasure of joining him at an amazing event he hosted at the UN General Assembly in order to raise awareness and money and support for the people of the Swat Valley. And I can tell you that my man literally not only had people like Gavin Rossdale and Sting and Melissa Etheridge helping and collaborating on his project, he actually had the whole UN General Assembly raising their hands like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I was like, yo, my man has brought some soul into the halls of power. Well, Salman Ahmad, Pakistani rock star, has written a book called Roll Jihad. And I want to know what he means by that. Salman, are you with us?
My brother, my magic brother DNA, so good. Congratulations on your new show. I've been listening to the dialogue and your riffs, and man, I am grooving. I'm grooving, brother. I'm happy to be on the show.
My brother from another mother, thank you very much, and I'm blessed to have you here. It's our second day on the air. So
awesome.
Welcome to the experience. So, Salman, first of all, again, thank you for joining us. And just so that our people, we can lay a little bit of ground before we go further. Your book is called Roll Jihad. Can you explain to us what a jihad is?
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Well, you know, I grew up, as you know, DNA, was born in Pakistan, went to junior high school in New York. I got family in the United States. I got family in Pakistan. I traveled the Muslim world, and I traveled the West. And so after 9/11, when, you know, on 9/11, it seemed Osama bin Laden and the terrorists hijacked the J word. They hijacked it. They hijacked Islam. And it seems after 9/11, you know, even if you're a musician, you know, you're not going to be talking so much about music and poetry, but you'll be talking about faith. You know, you'll be talking about all the things that you were just saying about, you know, religion, class, color, race. So, as you know, I mean, you're an artist, brother.
Yep.
When musicians jam, they connect with the heart. And when we connect with the heart, when we see with the heart, all the masks fall down, as I write in my book, Rock and Roll Jihad. So, to answer your question, what does jihad mean? Well, if you grew up in Muslim culture, it's a word which means to strive, to overcome perceived limitations, to overcome the ego. It's basically a good word. Now, what the terrorists did on 9/11 was to take the J word and make it into something, fear-inducing, something ugly, something dark. And we got to rescue. I mean, the reason I use the word in the title, the book title, Rock and Roll Jihad, is that, look, the majority of the Muslim community in the world, they need to rescue this word back from the people who want to use it for ugliness and fear.
So basically, you're saying that jihad is a word that basically means to strive in Islamic cultures. But that
absolutely. I mean, I'll give you an example. Martin Luther King's struggle for civil rights was a jihad. In my eyes, that was a jihad. Gandhi's struggle for independence from the British was a jihad. My struggle, like when I say rock and roll jihad, rock and roll is a symbol for peace, for justice, for coexistence. So my jihad was to be able to, become a musician. Throughout my life, my parents said, no, you're going to be a doctor. That gives you respect, that gives you nobility. But I said, you know what? It's not these labels which are going to give you nobility. It's what you do. It's what your character is about. So that was my jihad.
Well,
and as
I want to get into that a little bit because people may not realize you are a medical doctor.
Yeah, I went to 5 years. When my parents freaked out that this kid wants to be a rock musician, they took me out of high school in the States. They sent me to Pakistan in the middle of a military dictatorship.
Oh, that's nice.
To study medicine. And they figured in a place where you couldn't play any rock music, you couldn't appear on radio, you couldn't be on TV, that this boy is not going to become a doctor.
Yeah.
But I did become a doctor, but then I said, give me 1 year. Give me 1 year, but I didn't tell them how many days in that 1 year. And
So you took an indefinite leave of absence from medicine in order to pursue your dream.
DNA, I was smart. I married the doctor.
See, you could have better recommendations for a lot of artists. You need to get you schooling some of these kids. Don't be the doc, marry the doc. I'm going to take notes right now because my parents are listening in and they're like, yeah, dude, what's up with the MD? I'm serious. No, but I mean,
that's your cover.
That's my cover,
that's
exactly. But Salman, I think this is actually really fascinating because when we have an idea of a musician or an artist, a lot of times we talk about this phenomenon of the overnight success, like so-and-so just became a star. And I think that programs like American Idol and whatnot reinforce that idea. Like someone went from zero to like amazing all of a sudden. But people that I know in the industry always say every overnight success is 10 years in the making. And your story is fascinating because your story transcends different cultures and different countries, different languages, and now completely different careers. I mean, for you to, I'm trying to think of if I know any artists, like serious musicians, who are medical doctors. And the thing that I want to ask you is like, what was it like to go all the way through your life's path to achieve something as high in renown and something so difficult to strive for as an MD, and then to choose to switch gears or to pursue a path that was not necessarily recommended for you, and what motivated you to do that?
Great question, brother. Well, in a very simple way, I connected with my passion. When I was 4 or 5 years old, my earliest memory as a child was being at a family wedding, in Lahore and watching a Sufi music performance. For all the people who don't know, that's devotional religious singing. Yes. And I grew up listening to qawwals, and yeah, exactly. And the whole idea of qawwali music, that's the Sufi music, is to destroy the wall between us and them, to destroy the wall between humanity, to break down these barriers of race and religion. And so that, as a 4 or 5 year old, I didn't understand what was happening, but it connected with my heart. And I grew up, listening to sounds. I used to travel, as you went to Saudi Arabia, I got a chance to, live in the States and other parts of the world. And whenever I would hear music, it just connected with my heart. And that was my passion. And then when my parents realized that this is not, some hobby, this kid wants to sort of give up everything, be in a garage band and go on and record songs, they sent me to Pakistan at a time when, like I said, you couldn't play rock music. I mean, my first memory, DNA, is I was 18 years old, and we had to hide and play music. And, there were 60 of my school, from my kids from my medical school. We did a little talent show. Uh-huh. We put a gong show together. And if you could sing or you could tell a joke or if you could juggle, you could have your 5 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
So I said the best way to blow these kids' minds is to do a heavy metal guitar solo. And so I learned Eddie Van Halen's Eruption.
And where were you at this time?
Fast.
Where were you?
So I'm in Lahore.
Okay.
We rented out, way away from campus and from the eyes of the morality police. We hired we hired this little sort of auditorium, and so I get up after the juggler. I get up on stage. And I tell this story in the book, and I close my eyes and I go into Eruption. And all of a sudden I start hearing these shrieks and screams, and I'm thinking in my mind, wow, I'm on my way to becoming a rock star. But but as usual, what had happened was that these student music police, these students from sort of extremist organizations who thought that they were sort of protecting Islam, they broke in. They, covered the girls with chadars, and they came up on stage, took my Les Paul out of my hands, and said, "Fashi," which means vulgarity, and "Harami, you bastard."
Yeah.
Man, and they took my guitar and they smashed it on the marble floor.
Oh my God. So they basically bum rushed the stage and destroyed your instrument.
The biggest humiliation is that rock musicians destroy their own instruments. But this guy took my guitar and he destroyed it.
They didn't even give you a chance to break your own axe. That's just terrible ignorance. So, but this is interesting because you obviously came a very long way because now you're one of the most respected artists out of South Asia. I mean, honestly, Salman, I'll talk to friends of mine who are in their 40s and 50s, and I'll mention Junoon, and their eyes will light up. So one of the things I'm wondering, for those of people who don't know your music, and first, if you could tell us where they can hear some of it, but then if you could also tell us, why do you think Junoon was such a success? What chord did you strike in the hearts of people in your mind?
Well, brother, first of all, Junoon, as you know, means passion, obsessive passion. It's like, when you're in love with that woman, you will not give up. You will die to get that woman. That's the kind of Junoon. When Layla and Majnun, it's a story out of the, Arabian Nights, that Majnun was a man who was completely mad about Layla. And, Eric Clapton wrote a song called Layla as well, as you know. Yes. So my passion for my Junoon for music was such that I decided that, look, even if these kids, they break my guitar, I want to pursue music single-mindedly with my heart. And so it didn't happen overnight. It took many, many years, but I stuck to my passion. And then, as the 13th century Rumi, the Persian poet Rumi says, if you follow the music, it will show you the way. And like magic, brother, doors started opening up. We became the biggest selling band in South Asia. Pakistan and India, two countries which had fought 3 wars against each other. We went on a tour where teenagers on both sides just said, we want cultural fusion, not nuclear fusion, because of Junoon's music,
That's amazing. Well, I actually want people to hear, like, one of these songs. I know we've got one of your tunes, Love Can. Can we get a little run of that?
Awesome. This is from the new album, Rock and Roll Jihad.
Okay. That is gorgeous. That's gorgeous, Salman. I love the sound and your voice and the way in which you express it. And it just brings me back to what we were just talking about with the previous caller, this idea that certain things bring us together. And it seems like music is such a profound one. I wanted to know if, before we leave with you, if you could talk to people about, first of all, what do you think is the role of music and of artistry in bridging the gap between the West and the Islamic world today, when there seems to be so much misunderstanding between peoples?
Well, absolutely, brother. I mean, look, as I grew up, as a Muslim kid coming from a Muslim culture, how did I get to know about the West? Well, I listened to Led Zeppelin, went to a Led Zeppelin concert. I watched the Beatles in A Hard Day's Night. I saw Rocky. As a kid, we're attracted by music, movies, stories, books, and as people, you and I, the way you and I got together was because we had an interest in each other's music and our poetry and our words. So my book, Rock and Roll Jihad, tells this story, DNA. It's a lot of stories from over the years, primarily saying that we get to know each other when we see with the heart. When we see with the heart, the masks fall down. And if you want to see the world through the cookie cutter of politics, well, it's always going to be fear.
Yeah.
Culture humanizes what politics demonizes. And if we're talking about politics, I just want to say one thing, that the speech that President Obama made in Cairo, that was a hit song, brother. It was a hit song, and he hit the right notes in which he said that relations between America and the Muslim world should be based on mutual respect and mutual interest. I say, brother, sing that song over and over, but don't just sing the song. Put some action to those words, because that's the way towards peace. That's the way towards understanding.
Amen. I'm talking to Salman Ahmed, Pakistani rock star, leader of the band Junoon, and author of the new book, Rock and Roll Jihad. You can find it on Amazon.com. Salman, thank you for sharing your wisdom and your artistry. Mad blessings to you, my brother.
If you wanna dance with me, I got no kick against modern jazz, unless I try to play it too darn fast. I lose the beauty of the melody.
Listening to Oprah Radio. Hello to you. This is Gayle King, and welcome back to the Derrick Ashong Experience. Or should I say, this is Gayle King audio-only radio show, as Derrick Ashong so gracefully pointed out to me. And I have to say, Derrick, I'm really trying to sit here and figure out how this happened. You've been on this channel 2 weeks. I've been here 3 years. And you already have a title, The Derrick Ashong Experience, and you already have video. So I'm thinking, Quinn likes to deny it, but you are clearly the favorite son, favorite child. But because I have what I think a healthy dose of self-esteem, I'm trying to figure out how to handle this, how to deal with it. And I do think that I will survive. I will survive. Scott, this is a good time to break out into Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. Derrick, I'm just going to take over your show for a second. Let's put in right now Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. Hold on, Derrick. I'm going to turn it back over to you in just a second. There you go. Gayle, don't you think you should toss it to Derrick soon? In a minute. So, Derrick Ashong, I just want to say to you, welcome to the family. I think it's awesome that it's called the Derrick Ashong Experience. I think it's awesome that you have a video stream. But I just want to say, I'm on the air every day. I'm spending an hour. So I'm 2 hours every day live. And you are around when? Once a week for 3 hours. I'm just saying. But I'm cheering you on, Derrick Ashong. I am cheering you on. Welcome to the family. Congratulations. Signing off, waving my Derrick Ashong pom-poms, getting ready to pick up the pieces and go to Gayle King audio only, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11. Congratulations, Derrick.
Thank you, Gayle. Okay. All right. Now, y'all are probably wondering what this is all about and why Gayle King is bum rushing my show. Well, you see, what had happened was basically we launched the experience last week, and Gayle was instrumental in doing so. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. And the question came up during the course of this week, well, why is it that Derrick Ashong gets an experience and Gayle King gets a show? Now, personally, I can't say I really know. You know, there's been some speculation that I am the favorite son of the mama of Oprah Radio, Miss Corny Cole. And first of all, I can't imagine that there would be any favoritism going on around here. And me being the humble and mellow dude that I am, I can't possibly comprehend that anyone would see me so young and cute, so happy and smart, so Harvard educated, and with such a great haircut, and try to give me some kind of special benefit. I'm just saying. And I think that probably what more likely happened is that Miss Gayle has had a show, as she said, for a while, you know, and it's a good thing to have a show. I support shows. There are many shows in the world. But that it got to the point where some people wanted to try a new experience. And that's what's happening on these Saturdays. Now, I do have to give credit where credit is due. Because the fact of the matter is, I never came to Oprah Radio and said, hey, guys, give me a show. What had happened was Ms. Gayle King invited me to be on her show. And we had an amazing conversation. And for those of you who don't know, Gayle is not only quite the conversationalist, she's also statuesque and most beautiful. And I was so inspired just to be in her presence that when they said, Derrick Ashong, would you care to come back and talk to Gayle again? I said, please, how high and when? And I jumped on the opportunity and I came back on the Gayle Show again. Gayle has had me on her show more times than I can count at this point. And literally has trained me up in some ways to be in this position to have my own. So the fact of the matter is, the Derrick Ashong experience is actually birthed from the Gayle King Show. And we always got to give love to our sweet mothers. Or in this case, my favorite auntie. So big ups to Gayle for bringing us thus far. And even though I am the favorite, we still have mad love for you, girl. And you know what? You will survive. Absolutely. And don't let my show go daily. You'll never hear the end of this. Anyway, so now I actually have another very interesting comment that just came in from one of my peoples on Ustream. And this is Ears to Listen. Ears to Listen is asking, how can one pursue passion in an unconventional career with a culture grounded on conventional value systems, whether with education and career paths? Wow. How can you pursue your passion in an unconventional career with a culture that is grounded in conventional experiences? That is a heavy question and a tough one, frankly. I mean, basically, I think that there's a lot to kind of ask, or to try to seek an answer to that particular question, because fundamentally there is no easy path, right? If you want to do something special, if you want to do something distinctive, you kind of have to set out and believe that you're going to do it no matter what the cost and no matter what the potential outcome, because you don't know what's coming down the road. But what I've learned is that sometimes pursuing a dream is not so much about the dream itself, but about the journey towards it, right? So even for me, being on a show like this is an amazing and it's a wonderful experience. But it wasn't so much me saying I want to be on a show that made it happen. It was just step by step by step by step, walking along and meeting such wonderful people as my girl Gail, who really opened the doors for me to have this opportunity. And for those that have not had a chance to hear this back and forth all week, I'm wondering, guys, do we have any more clips of what Gail had to say about the Derrick Ashong experience this week?
Gail, guess what? Derrick Ashong, he gets streamed live on the internet.
Because he's the favorite child. That's what happens. We have a dysfunctional family where mother plays favorites and Corny plays favorites to Derrick Ashong. Yes, I told everybody. I told everyone. And every good parent knows, Corny, clearly you're not supposed to show favoritism with your children. You know, parents can secretly have a favorite child. They can secretly, but they're not ever supposed to show favoritism, as you do with Derrick Ashong already, who hasn't even been a member of the family. What, a week? And
Gail,
this man already has a camera.
I am so glad that you brought this up.
Oh, yes, and Scott Miller is also working on the Derrick Ashong show, too.
But no.
So what does Corny do? Take the best people, bring them on over to Derrick Ashong?
We here at Oprah Radio, all we hear out of Corny's office is Derrick Ashong.
Yes.
Derrick, DNA.
Oh, I
Derrick
know.
Ashong. I'm glad you finally brought it into the mainstream media so people actually know about her infatuation with his wonderful show.
No, I mean, first it's the cab driver saying, I am never one of these people. I am not what's called in the business a hater. I think it's always good to surround yourself with people who are as good, if not better, than you. Yeah, this is a hater song. Nano. We major. You see me. Hi, hater.
Oh, hi, hater. Look, now, all right. And excuse again my rough and rugged voice. Y'all know that I'm coming to you straight after the Sundance experience. Apparently spent a little bit too much time in the snow, and I didn't even get to go skiing. But apparently, Gail was slightly perturbed that I have a live video stream. Now, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I'm saying? Let's think about this for a minute, just in the most basic terms. You see, radio is a very venerable medium. It's been around for a minute. You know what I'm saying? And radio is traditionally audio only. Radio predates TV, the internet, etc. But now, here we go with someone like me having a radio show. But I am of a new generation, and there are new technologies available. So I think that maybe what happened is, when Oprah Radio launched, they wanted to make sure that all the grown-ups were comfortable with the technology. I'm just saying that the grown-ups were comfortable with the technology. that they have grown up with to become grown-ups. And now I am a new entity, a new program, a new generation. And so they wanted me to use the technology that I am comfortable with. And I'm comfortable with quite a lot. I like the internet, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Ustream, all of that. And so it was through no dearth of love for our dear Miss King that she wound up with an audio-only show. It was simply by virtue of timing and birth that I came to be the generation of video. And that's why this is not a show, but an experience. Need I say more? Need I say more? Yo, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to you about Oprah's latest initiative, which is about having a no-phone zone in your vehicle. We're going to explain what that's all about and have some amazing guests right after the break. You're listening to the Derrick Ashong Experience on Oprah Radio. We'll be back.
You accuse me of it. You accuse me of it. You accuse me. Let me testify.
Progressive is proud to work with Oprah to make our roads safer for everyone. Go to oprah.com/no-phone-zone today and take the pledge. Taking action to make the world a better place. Now that's Progressive.
This is the Derrick Ashong Experience on Oprah Radio and oprahradio.com.
All right. We're back on the air, back in full effect. This is DNA. You're listening to the Derrick Ashong Experience. Now, I want to give a shout out to the folks. You see, I'm in this lovely place. You see that my name is written in such beautiful lettering just to the side of me. And that's because I am in a wonderful spot called The Room Live, which we got a chance to play in here back in December with my band Soulfish. We did a little bit of an acoustic set. And I wish you all were here because it's literally a room. And we're live. And it's a wonderful thing. So thank you so much, The Room Live, for joining the experience. And I got to say, I don't know if Gayle King has a room for her show. But if she needs one, I know some good people she could talk to. Anyway, I want to move on to a really important topic that for those of you who've been watching Oprah Winfrey Show the last couple of weeks, you've seen it's coming up, and you've seen on Oprah.com a few different, or at least a major banner about what is called the No Phone Zone Initiative. And for those that haven't seen it, you can go to Oprah.com and watch the entire episode about the No Phone Zone. And basically, this is an initiative that Oprah has launched, and that is happening throughout Harpo, about how can we remove the problem of distracted driving. How can we actually have people no longer texting and sending emails and maybe not even talking on the phone while you're driving? Because it seems that over time we're realizing there are so many preventable deaths happening because people are distracted while they're driving, and it's something that we can seriously deal with. Now, I'm lucky to have with me today Melissa, who has actually had a very intimate experience with this. And Melissa, are you on the line?
I am.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. Melissa, I was wondering if you could tell people a little bit about your sister and her story.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, by the way.
No problem.
November 17th of 2009, I got a phone call at 9:30 in the evening, and my brother called me from Hesperia, California, and told me that my sister had been hit by a car and was killed. The initial thought was disbelief. I didn't believe him, unfortunately, and so I called my mom. She didn't answer. And she called me back from one of the deputies' cell phones at the scene, and he did, in fact, tell me that she was hit and killed that evening by somebody who was, we now find out 2.5 weeks ago, she did admit to texting while driving. She actually made 3 phone calls and sent 2 text messages in 7 minutes.
Oh, my God.
And,
so now, Melissa, was your sister walking or was she driving herself when this happened?
She was walking.
So she was walking on the street. And first, I'm so sorry to hear this. This is in November, so this is a very fresh event that's happened. And my condolences to you and your family.
Thank you very much.
She was walking, and basically someone was driving along and had been apparently sending multiple messages, talking and texting and emailing, such that at some point, I guess maybe her attention was not aware enough of this pedestrian, and she struck your sister.
Yes, she did. It was my sister and her 2 friends were walking in a V, and in this city where my sister lived, they don't have sidewalks, they have pedestrian walkways, like bike lanes. Okay. And my sister was on the outside part, and she struck my sister, and my sister pushed her friend out of the way, and my sister was killed on impact. So
your sister wasn't crossing the street. She was actually walking in the pedestrian walkway, and that's when this happened.
Yes.
That is so sad. And now I understand that your sister lived in California, which does have regulations around the usage of cell phones while driving. But you live in Iowa, is that correct?
I live here now, yes. I've been here almost 14 years, but I grew up out in California.
Okay. And now in Iowa, where you live, is there any law against using a cell phone while driving?
No.
And so what are, because I understand that you've kind of taken some inspiration from what's happened with your sister to try to help other people. So what are you doing to try to address these issues?
I have, well, first when I first found out about my sister, we had heard rumors from different people that, you know, she was talking on the phone or texting. And technically, I guess legally speaking, I couldn't really say to anybody until I found out for sure from the police department, this is in fact how this was caused. And when I found this out, I decided to contact the media and newspapers, anybody I could, to get this out there and to make people aware of the seriousness of this. And so I've done that. I've had news crews here at my house. I have 2 coming next week, talking with you today, of course. I just did an article in our local newspaper that came out today. I have been working with, and I'm proud to say that I'm part of the organization Focus Driven, who was on the show, Oprah show last week. And it's been great.
And they were on Oprah show specifically talking about the no phone zone. Now, I'm wondering, Melissa, have you been able to speak with any people in government in your community?
I have been in contact with a local legislator for Iowa. I emailed him last week and, you know, expressed to him my concern for this and told him my story. He emailed me back twice and did say that currently they're in the process of trying to make this bill presented. So hopefully, you know, it can get out there.
Okay, well, I want to, we want to help you a little bit in your efforts, Melissa, because I think that what you're doing is really important. And as more people become aware of this issue, hopefully we can prevent the kind of tragedy from happening to others that has happened to your family. And so we have got Governor Chet Culver of Iowa on the line. Governor Culver, welcome to the Derrick Ashong Experience.
Thanks for having me, Derrick, and I share what Derrick said about our condolences and thoughts that go to Melissa and her family. And as governor of Iowa, I hope I can help in a small way to prevent this from ever happening again. Certainly in the state of Iowa by supporting legislation that will ban texting while driving.
Now,
absolutely.
Governor Culver, I'm curious, has any legislation thus far been proposed to address this issue?
It has. I mean, as Melissa said, there are a number of legislators that are very, very concerned about distracted driving. I do believe that there's quite a bit of support for changing the law to prevent distracted driving in the future. And I'm hopeful that by the end of this legislative session, which should wrap up sometime in early April, a bill will ultimately get to my desk.
Okay. And now, Melissa, so you have the governor on the line and live on the air. Are there any questions that you have for him about the process of getting this kind of legislation passed?
Absolutely. First of all, it's a pleasure to meet with you and talk with you. I would like to know how long does this take? I really, really want to get this out there, as you know, and I'm sure you've seen. What is the process that goes into this? How long it takes? What are the consequences the same, or would they be the same in every town here? And again, I have expressed my thoughts to Rich Anderson from here about helping in any way that I can, talking to anybody to get this out there.
Sure. Well, first of all, I think you've already done a wonderful job, given this very tragic situation, highlighting the importance of doing something to prevent it in the future, and I think you're to be commended for that, and I think your advocacy has already gotten a lot of our attention, as it should. So I think that's the first step, and I urge you to continue to be an advocate. I mean, this is how our democracy is supposed to work. It's supposed to respond to the needs and the demands and the requests of the people, our constituents. that we are honored to represent. So I think you should contact as many legislators as you can. I would urge the Focus Driver organization or any other organizations of concerned citizens to also contact legislators, not only in Iowa, but I understand there are 10 or actually 23 other states that are currently considering such restrictions.
Correct.
So I think you're off to a good start. This is something I will certainly talk about with legislators as we move forward during the session. But the bottom line is it really doesn't take that long. If you can get enough support, ideally bipartisan support, this should not be a partisan issue at all. So that's an advantage I think that you have. This is just a common sense public safety measure that I think all states should take, especially when you're talking about texting, when you have to take your eyes off the road. I don't think anyone can argue that that's in anyone's best interest, including the driver, and certainly those vulnerable citizens, unfortunately, including your sister, who was tragically killed. So I think this is something we definitely can do in perhaps a couple of short months here if we can get the consensus around it, and I'm certainly going to try to help you.
Thank you so much.
This is wonderful. I'm so glad that the two of you are able to make this connection. And I think that, one of the things, Governor Culver, that I think about as you speak is that, our technologies are advancing so quickly that sometimes it takes a while for our society to catch up to it. And this is an area where it makes such simple common sense that if you're texting on your phone, you can't be watching what's going on in the road. And unfortunately, it actually is a matter of life and death. I want to thank Progressive Insurance for helping to get the word out on this issue. And for those of you who are listening, you can actually sign the pledge that you will make your car a no phone zone. And by this, I mean that you'll take your calls before you get in the ride and when you get out. You will actually not text, not email, and not talk on the phone, just so that you can make sure you're paying attention. Melissa and Governor Culver, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Y'all listening to the Derrick Ashong Experience. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back with some more things to discuss and get you involved. Once again, Derrick Ashong Experience, Sirius 195, XM 156, and OprahRadio.com. We will talk to you in a few.
Everyday people. Yeah, yeah.
You're listening to Oprah Radio.
This is the Derrick Ashong Experience. The conversation starts here and continues 24/7 on Facebook and Twitter. Search Oprah Radio to get in on the action. And now here's Derrick Ashong.
All right. What's up, y'all? This is DNA. Welcome back to the Derrick Ashong Experience. So we're in our final hour, and I want to jump back up on the topics we started with in the beginning, and you guys can join this conversation. You know, we're live on the air. You can catch us on Facebook.com/Derrick Ashong Experience, Twitter.com/Ashong, ASHONG. You can also call me at 866 Oprah XM. That's 866, and the number is 677-2496. Join the conversation. I want to get back to some of these issues around the State of the Union. And there's been a few different and interesting things going on, but I have a couple of thoughts that I wanted to share, particularly upon this idea of bipartisanship. I'm wondering if we could actually play clip number 13, where the president's talking about this commission that he wants to establish. Can we get clip 13, please?
That's why I've called for a bipartisan fiscal commission, modeled on a proposal